Hello, everyone, and welcome back to today's session of our Spring 2023 series of Tuesday Times Roundtable, How Coral Gables is Reimagining Our World Through Data. My name is Michelle Zaldivar, your Senior Program Coordinator here at the Office of Global Learning Initiatives. TTR is our flagship discussion series that brings together multiple perspectives on current global issues and trends. You can learn more about TTR, watch past recordings, or come back and reference this one at go.fiu.edu/TTR. As a reminder, as we engage in today's session, we ask that everyone use the mics. We have some roaming mics on each side of the room. Shout out to our student volunteers who are helping us out with the mics. And this way we can capture all of the audience questions and comments and contributions on that recording. Thank you so much. So if you haven't had a chance to already, this QR code, which is also posted around the room, is your sign-in sheet. This is how I'll report your attendance back absolutely anywhere it needs to go. Whether you're here for Global Learning Medallion, honors, or for class credit, make sure that this is how we capture your presence in this room with us today. As always, Tuesday Times Roundtable is linked to a New York Times article. You can read this week's article at go.fiu.edu/TTR 0207. And this is partly because here at Florida International University, we have a formal partnership with the New York Times that gives you free digital access, a free digital subscription to the New York Times while you are a student here at FIU. So if you haven't already, or if you're getting to that article and you hit a paywall, all you need to do is go to accessnyt.com, log in with your @fiu.edu email, and that'll give you access to your free subscription. My medallion students and my Enacting Global Learning micro-credential students, make sure that you capture your own attendance, right? You take a screenshot of that confirmation page of your login so that you can use it for your points log. If you have any questions about the Global Learning Medallion or the other student-facing programmings that our Office of Global Learning Initiatives offers to you, feel free to hang out after today's session. Myself and our Assistant Director, Anna, who you met as you walked in, will be here after the session to answer any questions that you have. We'll also have another GL at FIU session on February 15th at 1 p.m. where we'll have CLS coming to talk about Rorthon and Omicron Delta Kappa. You can access that at go.fiu.edu/GLinfo. We're also highlighting a couple of the student initiatives that we have on campus. So one particular group, the BC Bubble City Community Project, is doing an ongoing PB&J initiative where they're making PB&J sandwiches to feed the hungry that then get distributed through a system of community fridges in downtown. So the next couple of sessions that we have to make PB&Js, the next one's the 17th of February. You can join us at PC 245, that's our office, at 1 p.m. We always welcome donations of bread, peanut butter, and jelly. If you are a GLM Medallion student, now is absolutely the time to start looking for summer 2023 opportunities for your capstone. If you're looking to apply for an internship or a fellowship and you want any kind of application guidance in that process, please reach out to our office. You can make an appointment with us at go.fiu.edu/glmeet, and highly encourage you to follow us on social media, Instagram, at GoGlobalFIU. All right, and then on to today's session. So today's speaker leading our discussion is Raimundo Rodulfo, right, who serves as the Director of Information Technology and Chief Innovation Officer for the City of Coral Gables. He leads the Innovation of Technology Department in strategic planning, oversight, and management of citywide IT operations, infrastructures, and smart city initiatives. Rodulfo holds a Bachelor of Science in Electrical and Electronics Engineering from National Polytechnic University, and a Master of Science in Engineering Management, and a Graduate Certificate in Enterprise Systems from our very own Florida International University. Under his leadership, Coral Gables has received numerous awards, including first place in the Digital Cities 2018 for cities up to 75,000 population, first place in the U.S. Open Cities Index in 2019 and 2020, Smart 50 Award in Urban Infrastructure, Smart Cities Council Infrastructure Innovation Award of Excellence in 2022. The city was also recognized as one of the 8 smart cities to watch in 2020 by State Tech Magazine, and as one of 12 finalists worldwide in the Garter Eye on Innovation Awards for the government in 2021. Please join me in welcoming today's speaker, Mr. Rodulfo.
Thank you. Thank you, Michelle. Do you hear me, everybody? Yes, thank you. Thank you for the invitation and for the introduction. So it's great to be here. I look better in that photo. Maybe it's the Photoshop in person. So yes, it was great. I'm a Panther too, so I did my master's here, and I did my bachelor's. I finished my bachelor's in electrical engineering in 1994. So it was, almost 30 years ago. I started at that moment my career in engineering, working with telecommunication companies at that time, companies like Siemens and Bell South that became part of AT&T and Motorola. So I came to Chicago in the mid-90s from South America, and then I worked with Motorola building, at that time, wide networks that became later what paved the way to technologies like this. We did a lot of cellular networks, engineering, design, in urban areas in the mid-90s. Then we went digital with other technologies. So we started analog, something that you never saw, but it was like a big bricks like this, that they were like the predecessors of these technologies. They called AMS and NAMS. And then we went to CDMA and digital technologies, which is pretty much what has carried to what we call today 4G and now 5G and other technologies. So those technologies, they paved the way a lot to what we call today smart cities. So smart cities, so you can try to overthink it and look for a lot of definitions. To me, smart cities, and that's the way how we saw it, is to leverage the state of the art, the technologies of the moment, innovation, strategic planning, and best practices. So things that follow best practices, standards, to continuously improve quality of life for the citizens, for the residents, for the businesses, for the ecosystem. So basically, it's people-centric. So it's improving quality of life for everybody who lives in a city, and sometimes in a rural area too, because we apply smart city concepts also to rural areas. So in our case, in Coral Gables, it has been a systematic process that started years ago. When I came to the city after more than 10 years in the industry, in 2004. So I started as a network engineer in 2004 when the city didn't have pretty much of technology infrastructure. The city didn't have a network, pretty much. We were building everything from scratch, from the ground up. So we started building resiliency. So you are always trying to bring value, but first you have to survive. It's like the Maslow hierarchy of needs. So if you don't eat, so you don't live. So basically you think about more elevated needs after you have fulfilled those basic needs. What is the basic needs for us is to providing those mission-critical services to the citizens. In our case was maintaining business continuity during hurricanes, during emergencies. So we live in South Florida. So when I joined the city in 2004, I was welcomed by a series of hurricanes. It was like 6 or 7 and multiple storms. So it was like a binge of hurricanes. And we had those hurricanes like Category 3, like Wilma that hit us. Katrina came as Category 5, became a monster hurricane when it went north. And we have many of those that I forgot the names. I don't want to remember those names. So for 3 years, every time we were hit by a hurricane, what happened? We lost all communications. We lost power, of course. In Coral Gables, we have a dense tree canopy. So the first thing that goes down are the trees, and the trees bring the overhead electric lines down. This is why we are doing overgrounding of utilities today with FP&L. It makes a lot of sense. So then we lost power. In some cases, we are talking about in the 2000s, like 80%, 90% of power down throughout the city. Not only Coral Gables, of course, the whole metro area, Miami-Dade area, and also Broward. And when we lost power and we lost all communications, the carriers lost communications too at that time, 2004. They were less resilient. I'm talking about at that time, Nextel and Bell South and AT&T, they were the main players. Later came Verizon and others. And even the PSTN, the public switching telephone network, in this case is AT&T. They also lost communications. So they lost landline telephony. Why? Because we had underground boxes and handholds that they got flooded, and then the electronics were not resilient enough, and they lost communications too. So what happens in that situation? So you have a municipality that has to provide critical services, 911, first responders, critical communications for police, for fire, for the people that are taking care of the basic needs of public safety. So that's a big problem. Of course, we have other redundancies to the county and other centers, but they were impacted too. So I came, from the private sector as an engineering background, and actually working for telecommunication companies. I work with the carriers, and I work in R&D, also building technology for network and intelligent systems for automated failovers and for fault tolerance. So I came to the city, and none of that was present at that moment. So what was the main priority? Is to keep the lights on, is to provide those basic services. So that was, at that moment, that was a smart city for me, at least. Is, hey, let's build the capacity to provide basic services that we need for the community, and to be able to survive hurricanes, to power resiliency, energy resiliency, but also communication, so high-speed communications that is robust and can survive hurricanes with multiple layers of failovers. So we spent, I would say, close to 10 years. Then I became later like the assistant director, assistant CIO, so I was more on a leadership capacity in those 10 years. By the way, I was planning to only spend a couple of years in Gables, learning about public sector. I was coming from the private sector. I said, well, I'm going to learn enough, and then I'm going to maybe go back to the industry. So 2 years became 18 years, and I'm the director now, but the plan was not to stay so long. But why I stayed? Because I saw the big possibilities of transforming the way how we do business in government, becoming more entrepreneurial, more innovative, but at the same time providing services for the community that we are part of. Everything we do for our community, but we are part of the community, for our families too. So that makes a lot of sense. So you see the direct correlation between what you do and the quality of life for your family and for your community. It's not that you don't see it in the private sector. In the private sector, your customers is your community. So everything you do it for your customers. So customer satisfaction in business, in private sector, is directly related to the profitability and survivability of the business. So if you are not competitive in customer satisfaction, so your customers leave to your competitors. In government, we bring the same mindset, at least some of us that came from the private sector, is that you have to be competitive, entrepreneurial, and you have to also fight for your customers, because your residents can go to another city, your businesses can go to another city too. So you think that way, you fight for their business, you fight for their citizenry, for their presence. So they are your customers, so you need to achieve customer satisfaction too, or citizen satisfaction in this case. So for us, for all those years, we were building capacity. That was the number one priority. Nobody was talking about smart cities. In the industry, we were talking about intelligent urban networks, and we were building capacity for networks to be resilient and connect rural areas and connect with internet at that time. That concept came in the mid-90s to start connecting those hubs for internet to metro areas as well. So we were building that, and that, in my opinion, paved the way a lot to what we do in the government with smart cities. So once we achieved that high-speed capacity, and we were able to provide those services to the citizens, and we were able now to survive hurricanes with multiple layers of survivability and connectivity, I talk about fiber optics and wireless networks. They can talk to their relatives after a hurricane if they lost commercial capacity. Or when their businesses, they need to open the doors in the aftermath of a hurricane. They don't have commercial business service from internet, but they can connect to the city's underground-backed public Wi-Fi, and they can open the doors with their point of sale. So all those kind of things, we build the capacity for 10 or more years. After we build that, we can say, okay, now let's talk a little bit more about cyber-physical systems and intelligent systems, smart cities type of technologies. It goes from Internet of Things, IoT sensors, for traffic, for environment, a connected fleet, intelligent fleet, and then we go to distributed clouds and aggregating data, millions of data points. Now let's talk a little bit about data. One of the subjects of today is gathering data from that ecosystem of technology, environment, and people, and using that data for civic good. as actionable information for first responders to reduce their response times, for traffic engineers to design better roads, improve traffic safety, for city officials to make decisions informed on data. So data-informed decisions. For managers and supervisors to oversee in real time the operations to make sure they increase efficiencies. For residents to get the information they need. For businesses to get the information they need to become more profitable, to improve their bottom line, or to survive during a pandemic that impacted all the businesses. So all that data is actionable data. So data, to me, you can see data as blood, pretty much what connects the ecosystem and keeps it alive. You can see it as energy or as electricity, so what powers business. You can see it as a commodity too. That happens a lot now in the private sector in big tech companies. They see data as a commodity. They see your data as a commodity too, so be careful what you share, because that data becomes a commodity. So all that is different ways how we can see data. We see data as actionable information that is used for civic good, to improve quality of life, to improve services. So there's a way how maybe I can see that, and I will maybe go a little bit to this.
If I may, I wanted to screen record this as well.
Thank you. So I'm going to share with you something that we call our Smart City Digital Library. So in our digital library, we share in a transparent way all our plans, all our open data platforms, all our resources with the citizens, with the residents, or with students, with researchers, with partners. So we have an ecosystem of partners that includes the universities and the schools. And they are all participants in this co-creative process of becoming a smarter city and improving quality of life. So if you go to this library, the easiest way to go to it is coragables.com/itdocs. I had a QR code in one of the posters that I can share with you too. So in ITDocs really was a good acronym. It means Innovation and Technology, Digital Operations and Computing Systems. But it sounds like IT documents, ITDocs. And we came up with that because the goal is to share what we do with all our partners in academia, in the industry, in the community, and at the same time, learn from them. So once you share, you learn. So the first step is to share. Put yourself out there, outreach, and say, okay, this is what we're doing, and we are open for partnership. Then you learn from others. We learn from other cities that are doing amazing things. You may have read that article that was shared by Michelle about cities in South Korea that they are designed and built from scratch as smart cities. So it's easier when you plan from the beginning. You have an ideation process where you consider smart at the ideation process. And you build it with best practices in urban planning. And then you build that community. And then that community is shovel ready for other applications like smart cities. What we did as a city that has been for 100 years since its foundation. So the city was founded in 1924-25 by George Merrick, who was a visionary, as a planned community. That means that Mr. Merrick, he took the time to plan the city and all the services in the city, and also planned other things. Like the same year he planned Coral Gables, he founded the University of Miami, because he wanted to have an education and research institution, world-class, as part of the city. But the same year that he founded the city and founded the university, he also founded the Chamber of Commerce, because he wanted also to have an economy, to have businesses, to create jobs. So you see that's a holistic view. So you plan a community and you take into consideration all those things, economic growth, opportunities, quality of life, municipal services, nature. That was a city that was planned in a way that it was strategically located in the center of Miami-Dade County. It had coastal areas. It has a dense tree canopy and a lot of parks and green areas. That's something that urban planners refer to as the Garden City movement. So in the late 1800s, if you talk to an urban planner, he will tell you about that movement. Cities were designed with a lot of green. So today we talk about environmental sustainability and protecting the environment. That was part of the goal of the Garden City movement, creating garden cities, cities with a lot of green areas. And so Coral Gables was part of that movement, but also part of the City Beautiful movement, a movement that takes care of the aesthetics of a city. So you live in a city that looks good, that is beautiful, that is well kept. So that also is part of the concept of the City Beautiful. There are many cities that follow that movement, like city of Orlando, for example. They are also a City Beautiful. And Mediterranean revival architecture, that was another goal at that moment. Because Mr. Merrick was inspired by those cities in Europe, in Spain, in Italy, and France. So he brought all that and founded Coral Gables, and as a planned community, then you have a good ground for smart cities. That's why you see historic cities like Paris or Barcelona. They were planned communities, planned cities. They are so beautiful. You see them from a drone view, and you see how Barcelona was designed. And some of those cities have been designed millennia ago, and they go back to the Romans' time. And you see the same with Paris, Arrendosurs, and all that beauty that was part of the urban planning of the way how the city was planned. All those are fertile ground for smart cities, because then you have part of the ground already covered. The way how the city was designed facilitates also implementing walkability plans or transportation or communications, even technology. We leverage the way how a city has been designed to implement technology. So that's a planned community. Now, not all the cities are planned communities. There are cities that have been growing chaotically all over the world, and when they grow that way, then you have to do more to bring them back to, I would say, to best practices or to a harmonious way of working. So you bring technology to a chaotic environment, it's more difficult, but technology can help. Technology can make things worse too. So when you bring technology to a system or to a process that hasn't been optimized, you can make it worse because the process is already over complex. Then you bring technology as a complexity. The technology is not aligned with solving a problem. It's more like, okay, let's just bring technology. Bring technology, make it worse. So there has been failed implementations of smart cities that they have not done the right way. So what is the right way? So, of course, I'm not coming here to tell you that we had the right way of doing smart cities, but we have done things successfully. And I can tell you that part of the work was already done by Mr. Merrick 100 years ago. And part of the work in Paris, that is a smart city, and Barcelona, one of the top smart cities, and also London, and New York City, was done also hundreds of years or millennia ago by the founding, by the founders of those cities. Why? Because they already had a vision and they already applied common sense. They said, okay, let's make things in a way that you minimize the effort to get from point A to point B, or you have public transportation possibility. So there are cities that are designed from scratch with that vision. And you talk about that city in the New York Times article, Busan. There's also another city like that in South Korea called Songdo. And in Japan, also mentioned in the article, Toyota is working with Woven City, another city that is designed from scratch as a smart city. And Dubai has cities like that, and United Arab Emirates. They're doing a lot of those projects. So when you do that, okay, you have a vision, you want to make the city more walkable, you want to make the city more livable, more resilient, more sustainable. So those, I would say, 4 major elements. More resilient, so everywhere in the world you're gonna have a challenge by nature or by society of any kind. So you can have cities like ours with hurricanes, cities with earthquakes, cities with wildfires, cities with blizzards, or cities with heat waves, or cities with a lot of crime and societal unrest events, or cities with man-made disasters and many other situations, or tsunamis. So everywhere in the world there is a natural challenge that you have to face. So you are thinking about resiliency first. Then you think about sustainability. So a city has to be sustainable. So people are going to be living and working and doing things there. And you need to make sure that that city can exist 100 years from now, like Mr. Merrick thought about, and about Coral Gables being in perpetuity. And the same you see with those other metropolis. And you want to think that city is going to be there even after population growth, and population is growing fast, and even after a lot of people move and start using more natural resources like water and services and transportation. So you have to think with the future in mind always. So that's sustainability. Make it sustainable from an economic standpoint, because you need to see, okay, how are we going to be able to sustain this quality of life in this city? Where are the resources coming from? That's why Mr. Merrick said, okay, let's have a chamber of commerce. They have business, they have revenue. And he thought about, okay, let's have a university also that is a think tank to bring the minds to make the city sustainable and more resilient and attract people to come to our city. So you have to think about growth, because if you don't grow, so basically stagnation is not sustainable. If you don't change, so you will see that you are not sustainable. You will not survive over time. Constant innovation and change, it's important. And then you talk about the other, so we talk about resiliency, sustainability, workability. So the more efficient you are in providing services, so the more workable. The workability talks about efficiency, operations. So are you efficient providing services to the citizens? And the last part is the livability. Livability is quality of life in all sense. So is that city livable? Are you happy living here in this city? So those are those four pillars that you will see that those thinkers, urban planners that got it right, like Mr. Merrick in Coral Gables, or the founders of those big cities. Sometimes it's not one person, it's that the city started small, next to a river, most of them, and then they started growing. But building a city next to a river is very smart too. It's part of urban planning. So after we have built all that capacity and we have built the technology infrastructure to have a visibility over the environment, over traffic, then you are collecting a lot of data. Then you need to do something with that data. So I'm going to show you here, the only diagram I'm going to show you here, two things. One is an engineering framework. So why? Because the engineering framework will show you how we have built this stack of information and capacity, the way how I am describing it. Is that, let me see if this works, yeah. So you build that foundation of high-speed communication. That's what we started doing in my team at the beginning in 2004. So we had to have resiliency with fiber optics, wireless networks, metropolitan networks from third parties, from the AT&T or from others, to have a backup from the industry, not only city-owned backup, city-owned resiliency, but resiliency from the industry. Then building public Wi-Fi and having satellite networks. Recently, we have provided a lot of mutual aid to communities that have been heavily impacted, like Lee County and Fort Myers during Hurricane Ian recently. So we sent mutual aid with a mobile command center that was equipped with the Starlink technology. So with those satellites, that's how we were able to connect in all those areas, because cellular communications were impacted. When we sent mutual aid to the Florida Keys after Hurricane Maria, I think it was a big devastation also, and they lost all the cellular communications and landlines. Our firefighters, they came with satellite handhelds. And when we were impacted in areas when we didn't have any communications, we used satellite rapid deployment kits. So satellite is the last resort when you have lost all the other layers of communication. Then we started building, after we got that done, then we took care of the basic needs, providing capacity, communications for first responders, and to keep the lights on during and after an emergency, and during normal operations. So the city can function from an ICT standpoint, information and communications technology. Now we move forward to the next level. The next level is ICI. Intelligent Connected Infrastructure. So once you start with ICT, then you move to ICI from a smart city engineering standpoint. So ICI starts with cyber physical systems or Internet of Things. In our case, it means to have smart lights that maximize energy efficiencies and real-time control, but also provides a way to connect sensors. Traffic sensors, environmental sensors, air quality sensors, water quality sensors. Traffic sensors, very important, count pedestrians, vehicles, bicycles, micromobility, and connected fleet, connected vehicle. We are living in the era of vehicle to everything, V2E, vehicle to vehicle, vehicle to everything. So to get there, and of course we have the robotics like autonomous systems, autonomous vehicles, or drones, that we are gradually moving to those kind of capacity. And we are building a mobility hub that is going to have a service of robo-cargo and robo-taxis, autonomous vehicles to transfer cargo, delivery, the payloads. And data platforms. So data platforms is where you aggregate all the data that's coming from millions of data points. Then you have to make sense of that data. You have to have data governance, best practices, apply all the regulations, privacy, cybersecurity, interoperability, very important, accessibility of all that data. So you manage that, but very important, you manage to get actionable insight with artificial intelligence. That's the only way how you are able to process millions of data points and millions of data points in real time in some cases, is with artificial intelligence and machine learning. So you can make sense of that data and present it to the ecosystem with a digital value. So that digital value for us is called the Smart City Hub. The Smart City Hub is a paradigm in this architecture, but at the same time, it's a collection of platforms. It's a Smart City Hub urban analytics platform that aggregates data and dashboards to the presents dashboards to the public, but also a digital twin. A digital twin is like a digital representation of the city in real time that allows you to do simulations, virtual inspections, or access data in a 3D way, or use a VR headset and do virtual tours. So that kind of technology is happening in our labs. Even some sort of technology is close to what you hear in Web3 or XR or the metaverse. So that kind of collection of tools is what we present to the public, to the citizens. So here from the digital library, and you can explore this in your own time later. So remember coragables.com/IT docs. You will see two links here at the top. The first link is to the Smart City Hub. The second link is to the digital twin. So I will do a quick tour. And how much time do I have?
It's 1:05.
And anybody's hungry here? No? Okay.
We'll end at 1:30.
Okay. So I'm going to do a quick demonstration of these two platforms. So you already saw the concept of the architecture. So it's people-centric. So the ecosystem, we define it as people, businesses, organizations, things, and IT systems. So it's people-centric. We're talking about our residents, our visitors, and our students. alone has almost 20,000 students. Not all of them live in Coral Gables. We have Coral Gables High School. They only, I think it's like less than 20% of the students actually are from Coral Gables. So we have people that come to study, to visit, to do life in Coral Gables. We're talking about 1 million car commuters that go through Coral Gables every week. How do we know? Because we have sensors. So every week through Coral Gables, we have 1 million vehicles, approximately, that traverse Coral Gables. Some of them come to do business in Coral Gables. Some of them, they just drive by because we are in the center of the county. And we have US 1 and Bear Road and Red Road. So we have those major arteries. Calle Ocho, a street too. So we have a lot of traffic. They are our customers too. Why? Because we provide safety, traffic infrastructure. So we have a holistic customer-centric view, the same way how we have it in the industry. So it's customer-centric. So who are our customers? Our residents, our businesses, our visitors that we have a lot, our visiting students, visiting workers. We have 150 multinational corporate headquarters in Coral Gables. A lot of people, they just come to work there. We have more than 20 international trade offices and consulates. So we have an international community. We are an international city, a global city. So, and everybody who just drives by Coral Gables or comes to or walks through Coral Gables, they are our customers too, because we provide infrastructure, safety, we provide a lot of services also to our visitors. So you understand this part, and we have a thriving business community. Not only the multinational, we have a lot of mom and pop shops, a lot of small businesses that we had to help. When we had the pandemic, we have to provide them with data and information, and we had to help them to join the digital economy. A lot of those businesses, they were not prepared for the pandemic. They were not ready to join the digital economy. They didn't even have like an e-commerce site. So we have to train them, we have to help them. Not all of them made it throughout the pandemic, but we had new businesses to come, and some businesses were able to survive. And we didn't do it alone. We partnered with federal agencies for grants. We partnered with the university, with FIU, and with we partnered with Google. We partnered with Amazon. So we partnered with big techs too, that they helped us to train and to upskill the community. So businesses is a key part of our city. And businesses, small businesses in Coral Gables employ almost 70% of the city's workforce. So we're talking about retail, food industry, retail, they employ almost 70% of the city's workforce. And they don't live in Coral Gables, the big majority. And we have gathered data that not all of them have digital literacy and computer literacy. So we had to train the workforce too, train them with basic computer skills so they can join the digital economy and they can succeed in today's economy. So that's part of our job too in this ecosystem. And why do we have things? So let me show you. For example, we have an AI that interacts with students and with people, and sometimes the AI becomes like an ambassador. Now we know with more advanced AIs like ChatGPT, they almost become like personas. They can interact in real time. And now if you go to things that are very scary, like deep fake and things like that, so you have technology that can generate actually a good avatar of a person that you have trouble to identify if is that a real person or not. So we are going to be seeing more and more and more of those digital personas and things acting as part of an ecosystem. So we have to consider them as part of the ecosystem as well. At least that's how I conceptualize this matrix. And IT systems, because then data needs to be processed. Things need to be interconnected in real time, but made sense of. So that's pretty much how this works. And what I was going to do is a quick demonstration of the Smart City Hub. So the first link here in the library, so you can navigate that. And by the way, you see something that you feel that you can connect to and extract data. We have a lot of open APIs and open data sources. You can connect to any of that open data, use it for research, use it to create your own apps. Let us know. Maybe we can use something that you developed as part of that ecosystem of collaboration and citizen engagement. Then, so in the Smart City Hub, coralgables.com/smartcity, or you click on that link. So here you will find a lot of things, like you will find transparency portals. The citizens want to know about how the city is spending taxpayers' dollars in projects, capital projects, all the expenditures, the tax distribution, etc. So the citizens don't have to call a government agency to get this information. They can get it here. Sometimes I get a call from a resident. Raimundo, I went to your portal and I found out that you spent $1 million in a broadband project. And yes, sir, I spent. So then we explain, why do you do it? Because we are providing digital inclusion and providing connectivity for businesses. But the information is there, it is transparent. They don't need to ask the city about that information, it's there. They can even drill down and get account by account and all that kind of stuff. Information from passport offices, what lobbyists are registered with the city, who they represent. So all that transparency part too. Election history and demographic data from local elections and public records. You can search for thousands and thousands and thousands of records that go back to George Merrick to 1924. You will find the ordinances open to the public when the city commission at that time worked on the charter of the city from 1925 until today. So they can look at today they can see the video of the meetings, and they can see an agenda that is annotated with the video. So they click on a part of the agenda and they see the portion of the video. So we have all that technology for transparency, for open government, for e-government. And police records, as far as those records are not sensitive, like juvenile records, for example, they are redacted, but you can find most of public police cases, and etc. So, and you can find citizen engagement information here. This is where we have ADA. So ADA was developed with scientists from MIT, was funded by NSF, National Science Foundation. And I pre-opened it here. So the goal of ADA is to answer questions here that will take you to the right part of the Smart City Hub. So this is the thing, when you build capacity and you build a lot of services, also you are building complexities. Those complexities are sometimes making difficult for the citizen to interact with the technology. And not everybody is very savvy on the use of computers or mobile devices, and not everybody even use those devices. So this is why you have to always think in terms of accessibility, digital accessibility as well. So we provide this technology, but if we need to help in person, we do. And if we need to provide a digital survey in paper format, because that's the way how the citizen wants to consume it, we do it too. And if we have to provide a phone line where the citizen can call and get the news because they don't want to go to a website, we also provide that. So it's common sense. So you have to think in all the needs of the population. But we also train the senior citizens, we train on cybersecurity, and we train them on computer literacy. We do a lot of those trainings at the youth center or at the adult activity center. And we train children on robotics, because that's the kind of skills that they need to learn today, the programming languages, that kind of stuff. So we provide a lot of information. You can spend hours here, so I'm just going to leave you this as an idea of things that you can discover. In our app store, you can download apps like the apps that allow citizens to get the trolley, see where the trolley is in real time, catch the electric vehicle shuttle, etc. Government services, everything you do with government, you can do it digitally, including 3D versions of the city that gives you like history tours that were done in collaboration with FIU and many other data. Open data, thousands of data sets open to the public. You can just search for a data set in all these domains and you find that data. And once you find it, you can connect to it for free with open APIs. If you are a developer or a startup and you know Python or JSON or XML, any of those languages, even if you don't know how to program in those languages, there's low-code ways to just get the data and use it for your business or for your research. Or Excel. Everybody knows Excel. Don't know Excel. And we have connected our system to the county, so you see a lot of collaborations with Miami-Dade County, so they know what we do and we know what they're doing, so we can collaborate and maximize opportunities. Like if the county is breaking ground in an area, maybe that's an opportunity for us to install fiber conduits. Or if we are doing work that is closing traffic, so they need to know because that's traffic management, etc. You see, that's common sense, but it's not happening sometimes when governments, they don't talk to each other. So you have a lot of cities, it's like 40 or more cities in Miami-Dade County, and you have the county, and you would be surprised. That's another thing that I found when I joined from the private sector, is that we had to build those interoperability mechanisms between cities so they are more efficient. So the right hand knows what the left hand is doing, so they communicate. That's what we call horizontal integration between systems. So these are the dashboards of the pedestrian counters in downtown. So there was an art exhibition in public places called the Umbrella Sky Project, like colorful umbrellas in Giralda Plaza. Look how traffic went up during that exhibition. That informs policy, but also helps you to understand patterns and maximize that opportunity for other events. We never got as successful like when the Umbrella Sky Project, you see, we surpassed it for a little bit with another exhibition. So basically you gather data that is actionable. So you make decisions informed by data. And when you share the data with the public also leverages the data. Traffic studies and all that. These dashboards are being blocked by some firewall here, so I open them in another browser. They are here. So we count vehicle traffic throughout major arteries in the city, so in real time you can see how many vehicles throughout the city. You can see patterns, you can run analytics. This data is gold. In the past, businesses, they had to pay $40,000 or more to get 1 week of a traffic engineering study. And that was only 1 week at a certain place, and they got the data. That data is good for marketing, for sales, for planning, or for urban planning. Now that data is open to the public in our Smart City Hub. Everybody can use it, the businesses, the residents, and somebody that even wants to plan their day. Oh, let me see what is the best time that I should go and I should drive it. Well, they can do that with Waze today. This is why we also partner with Waze. Now we have a partnership with Google Waze, and we are getting millions of data points from Waze drivers. One of our data scientists developed this situational awareness dashboard, and we partnered with to host it with a supercomputer, with Triton, because we were getting out of capacity quickly because too many data points. Now we have all this traffic density, heat maps, also safety jams, hazard, etc. But we also have our own sensors and traffic analytics. This is the data that is blocked by a firewall, but I was able to open it here. So this data tells you vehicles, pedestrians, bicycles, micromobility, traffic throughout the city every day and historically. So that kind of stuff is what brings value to the residents and to the ecosystem that I showed you before. Then our engineers in my department, they have also developed things like curbside management. So they know how many curbside empty spaces in Miracle Mile at any given time, and other things that we can do when we have the skills. That's the other capital that we have built, the human capital, which is key. That's the most important capital we have is the people that works in our team that has the skills, the motivation, the service-oriented mentality to come up with solutions and develop it ourselves. Because if we go to the industry to develop every little thing that you see here, we're talking about millions of dollars that we don't have, that our taxpayers don't want to spend that money. With our engineering capacity in my department and our business analysts and data scientists, we are able to build all this capacity that you see here, develop all these platforms, and spend one fraction that what other cities have spent when they go with big companies like IBM or Accenture or Deloitte. They are great too, but they take longer, they have a big overhead, and when they develop something for a municipality, they have to go through a process where they start developing a plan, they start to going through a process where costs start piling up. And those are costs that we cannot afford as a city that has a limited budget. That's why we have built the human capital that has made it possible. And we have the background in the engineering experience from the industry that we bring to the table too, that we bring from private sector. Many of the staff I have hired in my team, they have that experience from the private sector too. Environmental dashboards, water quality dashboards, water alerts if there's a flooding alert during a hurricane or a wet storm. So all that data is gold. It's used by the firefighters, by emergency managers, by first responders, and by urban planners in the long run. When they want to see, okay, how is the city viable 10, 20, 50 years from now, the way how things are happening. What do you use for that? Data. So that's the power of data. When you talk about data, that's the way how we see it, is actionable information for civic good. And the last thing I want to show you is what we have built in Gables in districts. We call it smart districts. You see a lot of concentration of intelligence and technology in this area. This is the central business district. This is where we have our main data centers and where we have the highest concentration of intelligent technology. But we also have it in the geofence of the city. Just to give you one example, if a stolen vehicle enters Gables, as soon as they pass through our geofence, our sensors, all the police cars, they get an alert in real time, or an Amber Alert, or someone that is being looked for a crime. So that is called hyper-automation. It's hyper-connectivity and hyper-automation, two things that happen in smart cities that are built this way. The same thing I can tell you happens with alerts coming from water canals, or wind speed alerts, or rainfall alerts. They are actionable in real time, so we get alerts in real time and we react to that. Traffic safety issues. So with that hyper-connectivity and hyper-automation, when we started this process, police lowered crime more than 40% in just 2 years. Traffic accidents were lower more than 40%, which is very important because you understand the patterns, you understand the risks better. Traffic has been improved.
and carbon emissions have been measured, have been going down. So there's a lot of things that we do that has a result, a quick ROI, a quick impact to the community. And lastly, I'm going to show you what we call the digital twin. So the digital twin to me is the ultimate paradigm of a hyper-connected, hyper-automated smart cities. Why? Because this is what we have used to build the digital twin. We call it horizontal integration, or systems engineering of interoperability between systems. That means that in this architecture that we have, everything is connected, everything is interoperable in real time, like financials and HR systems connected to the cloud, or asset management systems like right-of-way, trees, water, sewer, utilities, or land management, permits, inspections, construction of buildings, or community recreation, parks, activities that are in open areas, or public safety ecosystem, police, fire, emergency management, traffic safety, IoT, from data coming from traffic sensors, environmental sensors, smart parking, and external data. What is external data? Everything we connect to. FIU, we connect to FIU. We collaborate with FIU in many projects, like water sensor project, or in historic tours projects. And also, or GIS, we collaborate with FIU a lot. Or we collaborate with on GIS and all the situational awareness and waste data, and all the other institutions like NIST or the Department of Energy. So all those institutions, they become part of this architecture of interoperability. These lines are a combination of APIs, application programming interfaces, or inter-cloud replication, or programs that connect things in a way that they all are interoperable in this central data bus, in this marketplace. And we are able to visualize it to the public in the Smart City Hub, the city dashboards, or the digital twin, or the city mobile app, or a digital kiosk that the citizens are walking and they can see a kiosk that we have a lot on the street, and they can see data in real time, or alerts, or information, and enterprise documents. So this architecture has built the digital twin. The digital twin, so we have all this wealth of information that we can leverage, that we can use for operations and for many other things. Just to give you, I'm going to give you only one example. Let's say that we have, by the way, more than 2,000 data layers and sets here that we can access. So at some point you need a supercomputer to manage, so a high performance type of computer. And the way how we see a digital twin in our city, we have like a big data center where we have some sort of like a video gaming type of a station with a lot of GPU capacity, so we can run all these analytics. So if we do asset management, to give you an example, and we say, okay, let's see all the trees in the city. Those trees, if you remember the horizontal integration diagram, they are part of asset management. They are maintained in real time by workers in public works. So I get all the trees in the city, but it's not only a static representation, it's a dynamic real-time representation of whatever is happening in that particular domain. And you can see what is the species of the tree. This is a black olive. And you can see when was the last time that it was maintained, etc. So that's only one example. Or landscaping, you want to see, okay, the landscaping crew is working out there. What are the zones? Who is responsible? What are they doing? What are the challenges? Or in some cases, you see the interoperability with the county data that we get. So you know a lot of data. And sometimes you can interoperate with other systems like Google Street View, and you can do like other things through multiple platforms. Or we can have something like LiDAR, that LiDAR uses digitalization of the world. We did it with vehicles that drove 300 miles in the city and digitized everything. 5 minutes, so I'm wrapping this up. So with LiDAR now is another thing that you're going to see in digital twins and smart cities, is that you have a digital version of the environment in 360, 180, and with that representation, you can run artificial intelligence to detect assets. Like, I can use this technology, and we have used it, for example, to do an automated inventory of all traffic signs in the city. Or, hey, tell me all the traffic signs, tell me all the traffic lights, tell me where are all the gutters. Using machine learning, artificial intelligence, and computer vision, and algorithms, Some of them, for example, like random forest machine learning algorithms for those in the computer science major. So here you can go and see a digital version of the city. So this is a digitized version of the city. You can go through 300 miles of roads, do automated inventory, predict when you're going to have pavement deterioration, like, okay, when is the most likely time that I need to repave this road? Or what are the elevation or the angle in this street that I need to run a simulation on water flow in case there is a flooding type of situation. So you can do a lot of things in the digital world. So like you see, a lot of data is open to the public. You can experiment on your own time. If you want to collaborate, the Smart City Hub has a section for citizen engagement, where you can either collaborate yourself by using the data for your own business or projects, and you don't need to tell us. Or if you want to collaborate and be a volunteer in a city project, so register there. So, and I think that we're open for questions.
We probably have time for one question. There was so much richness.
I spoke too much.
Do you use like the transportation data that you said for commutes? Do you give it to the city for like to work with them for the buses and that, or no?
Yeah, so the city has a trolley fleet. It's free to the public. We have like 1 million riders every year. It's connected. It's part of the ecosystem. We get the data from the trolleys, and they also provide Wi-Fi for the riders, and all that fleet is connected. So transportation is a part of the way how we manage data and traffic. We also did a transit integration with Miami-Dade County and with Google. If you go to Google Maps and you look for directions, the city trolley is going to show up as one of the alternatives. And if you go to the Miami-Dade County's transit app or website, you will see the city of Coral Gables trolley in real time because we connected our system. So public transportation is a big component of the connected fleet part that I mentioned.
Hi, could you speak to the opportunities that you have for young people and college students in the Innovation and Technology Department in Coral Gables?
Yes, we have a great program for internships in innovation and technology. We have a Smart City Lab and we have a GIS Lab, and we get interns from FIU a lot there. Some interns that started years ago, had their first experience out of high school in some cases was in our team. Some of them today, so they have leveraged that experience and they have worked in the industry. So we are very proud of the way how we provide the opportunities for interns to come from high school, from universities, but also what we learn from them. So we learn a lot from those projects that they do. And at the end, we follow up what they do after they leave and they go to have successful careers. So we are very proud of that. They are part of the family. Hundreds over the years. If you know someone or you yourself want to be an intern, there's a link in the Smart City Hub that is called Knology. Knology was an invention by our GIS manager. It's called Knowledge in GIS. So you can be part of the GIS lab. You can work on exciting projects like AI, IoT, or virtual reality and Web3 projects. Thank you. Thank you. Let me close all this.
Yeah, I just want to open up the PowerPoint.
Okay, so you can close this later.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. TTR happens in the same time, same place every week. You can find the full lineup for this series at go.fiu.edu/TTR. Next week, we'll have someone from the Talent Lab in FIU in DC coming to talk about cultural dissonance, getting comfortable talking about the uncomfortable. If you have any questions at all for us, you can find me or Anna Prado, our assistant director, hanging around the room. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you again hopefully next week. Thank you so much. That was fantastic.
Well, thank you.
I have
I hope that-
a whole class here. Yeah.